How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. Wanted to come to you real quick on this Red Lobster CEO. What we're finding out now that Red Lobster actually is flopping. They're closing more restaurants. They're using old strategies that he said didn't make sense before by the math. And we're finding out that what I believe happened was private equity, which are like vultures in my view, vultures over multiple types of businesses, particularly you see it with restaurants, basically took this African man, painted him like he's American descendant of slavery or a black American, and you guys ate it whole under the idea that he's some kind of like entrepreneur, I guess, or like a singular man starting a multi-million dollar restaurant. He was a mascot for private equity. And I'll explain to you in a second why private equity is destructive to business. And in no way should black folks be the champions for private equity. And what this man represented was a long con on black aspiration. And y'all just shared these damn articles like he was the next thing coming. And now we finding out that the business don't make sense. Red Lobster went bankrupt, and now CEO Damon out of Malikian is bringing it back. And at the time, I just thought it was just the oddest thing, the way that they were able to use him looking like a black American and being this idea of ascension to get free marketing. And they were nothing more than private equity. It wasn't even like this was actually a family-owned business, let alone a Adolph's black family-owned business, his own Adolph's black family-owned business. But you guys digested it like that just because they used the words and letters CEO.
Goldman, I was at Brown playing football, and worked at Goldman for 4 years, and then worked at a private equity firm called TPG, and then went to business school, and then worked at a hedge fund here in New York. The reason I got into restaurants because I did a restaurant deal. We bought P.F. Chang's in 2019.
Who was we?
I worked for John Paulson, who's a famous billionaire investor in New York. His firm is called Paulson and Company. So I was working at a hedge fund. And we do a lot of things. The hedge fund's big. It's billions of dollars, and we do a lot of different things. But one of the things that we did that I suggested was to buy P.F. Chang's. It was up for sale. So I pitched it to the firm. They agreed. But I led the deal. This is 2019 now. So it was up for sale. I thought it was an interesting thing. Good brand, great history, great product. I thought we could do a lot of new things with it. We could add delivery. We could remodel the restaurants. We could make it more interesting, make it more relevant, cooler. Right. And it was all going pretty well, and then COVID hit, right, in 2020.
Right.
So my big restaurant deal, we put hundreds of millions of dollars into it, and it went south during COVID, like everything else did. All the restaurants were closed. So
Just curious, how much was P.F. Chang selling for back then?
We never released it, but there's an article that quotes something around 700 million. It's and coming here for us, my parents did a lot to bring us here. It's a very complicated, difficult process, and it took years, right? It took like 5 years for them to do that. So I think
you should be saying that at a time like this.
Yeah, well, it's there's different ways to immigrate. So this is a skilled visa, is what my dad used, and it's a legitimate process. It just takes a long time.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of tests. There's a bunch of.
They don't care. You're a successful black man. You're too smart. They can get you out of here.
So how did you get to Red Lobster?
Red Lobster. So the P.F. Chang's deal went well, and it won me some plaudits in the industry. Because it was difficult, right? And we made it happen. And then after that, I connected with the folks who had lent money to Red Lobster before the company went bankrupt. So they were in line to own it coming out of bankruptcy. It's a good group called Fortress. And so they asked me first to consult, to provide advice. Like, you just spent 4 years running a business that was in distress, similar to this. What do you think of this situation? So I was advising them at first, and then it turned into they asked me to come run it. Basically, I presented a plan. They were like, "We like your plan. Please come execute it for us." Right. So I took over as CEO coming out of bankruptcy in September. And that's what we've been doing.
When I first heard that story, I was on the radio acting like I knew what I was talking about, and I was just like, I know exactly what Red Lobster should be doing.
Yeah.
And I felt like Red Lobster should, scale down from being a fine dining establishment and be more like Chipotle. Like, you could go in there and, you can get your lobster and shrimp pasta right from the bar, or whatever the items is, just right there from the bar. Just make it like a smaller, more Chipotle-like establishment as opposed to a fine dining restaurant.
Well, the thing about Chipotle is they have so your point about being able to get food conveniently is an important one. There should be options, and there should be ways where you get things you need quickly. For example, our delivery business. That should feel fast casual-ish, where you put in an order, it comes quickly, etc. The way the company is set up has a cost structure that you can.
Are you allowed to tell us the truth about the endless shrimp? Tell us the truth. It never was endless.
It was endless.
Put them out of business.
So then why did it come to an end?
Look, let me say this. I can't get too much into it, but I'll say this. The previous owner of the business was the shrimp supplier to the business.
He was double dipping.
Shrimp cut off.
So the math is different.
Gotcha.
If you're strictly thinking about the business versus also thinking about the supply chain, the shrimp supplier, then it's different math, right? So I'm thinking just about the business right now.
Or
The supplier is no longer involved.
it often seems like they want to put black people in these CEO positions when the company is like messed up, right?
And then now what happens when it fails, we don't go back and litigate anything. I'm gonna go back and litigate it just to show you that it made no damn sense to celebrate this. And now that it's failed, how about we go back and say he don't know what he's doing? Red Lobster brings back endless shrimp even after bankruptcy claims. It's back, endless shrimp. This is a recent article. Red Lobster announced on April 20th that endless shrimp is making a limited time comeback after all-you-can-eat special was removed. So they don't know what to do. So they just gonna throw slop back on the table because they called it basically a business proposal or a plan or marketing scheme that led to their collapse initially due to the numbers not making sense. And even this CEO, this 35-year-old CEO, what he said initially is when current Red Lobster CEO Demola Amadukin took over, he decided against the return of the popular menu item, claiming because I know how to do math. Well, tell me how you gonna bring it back now if you knew how to do math and it didn't make sense then. Well, you just trying to do anything because you never were the head of anything. You were a mascot, a marketing scheme to basically get free marketing from people like Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club, along with many other online forums, and to paint this thing as some kind of aspirational achievement that it never was. And when I say this thing, this idea that Red Lobster CEO was a 36-year-old black person, we're not going to deal with him not being black American, but we're going to just paint him that way and throw it on the table, and then y'all will start posting all kind of stories and go eat there because you want to see somebody succeed that looks like you. That's not how group identity works at all. Iconic seafood chain Shutter Stores faces fresh bankruptcy risk. Closure and rising seafood costs put the chain's turnaround in jeopardy. March 28, 2026. So we never go back and litigate. Where is the interview from Charlemagne asking this man why he failed? Explaining to this man, you don't know how to do math, right? Because you said that endless shrimp don't make sense, and now you doing endless shrimp again, but you weren't no CEO. Why did you sign up for private equity that destroys business instead of creates it? In my view, that's what they do. They are vultures of business. You see it with so many different companies. Panera, they come in, they rise the prices. Let me explain so you understand a little better. Private equity firms often harm restaurant chains by loading them with debt, selling off assets, and aggressive cost cutting to maximize short-term profit. So the private equity group that came in and bought Red Lobster through this mascot, this Lady Eloise type character from Boomerang, and told y'all he run the company. And you guys digested it like it isn't white capital, eating whole at American business, at American community, gouging them with price increases.
Have you ever noticed how some of your favorite restaurant chains go from thriving to terrible almost overnight? One year they're packed and serving quality food. The next, they're empty. The food is worse, and they're either closing up shop or going bankrupt. Well, this isn't just an accident or bad management or just a change in taste. A huge factor behind the downfall of so many of these chains actually come from something not a lot of people think about: private equity. Today, we're breaking down the reason why private equity goes after restaurants, guts them, and pretty much destroys them. But first, let's start with what is private equity. Private equity firms are investment groups that buy companies, often with borrowed money, with the goal of selling them again in a few years at a profit. And on paper, it sounds harmless. They swoop in, fix inefficiencies, and cash out. But here's the catch. They don't just buy these companies. They load them up with debt, slash costs, and squeeze every possible dollar out of them in the short term. The private equity firm makes money, but oftentimes the restaurant, the employees, and their customers are the ones who often pay the price. And nowhere is this clearer than in the restaurant industry, where private equity has just left a trail of destruction. Private equity operates off a playbook, and once you know it, you start to see the same story play out again and again.
High-profile examples like Red Lobster and TGI Fridays, which faced bankruptcy after PE intervention, demonstrate that these strategies can severely weaken brands, reduce product quality, and drive them into bankruptcy. So this man was the face of white capital, Lady Eloise style, and you guys celebrated him and allowed these people to parade him around and show him in interviews and like he was some kind of success. And now when it's failing, we're not going to go back and litigate how he's supposed to know how to do math. That's why he wasn't going to do the endless shrimp, because the endless shrimp don't make sense. But now in the last gasp effort, they doing the endless shrimp again. Red Lobster brings back endless shrimp even after bankruptcy claims. Can I talk today? Again, I want to read this recent article. Closures and rising seafood costs put the chain's turnaround in jeopardy. Iconic seafood chain Shutter Stores faces fresh bankruptcy risk. If a company runs profitably but has legacy debt, leases that outpace the current market, or other past problems weighing on its current results, a chance to reorganize its finances might be enough to build a new sustainable foundation. In the case of Red Lobster, however, just shedding debt and unprofitable stores has not been enough to reverse the chain's fortune. The sales have returned to pre-bankruptcy levels, and in many restaurants, nautical-themed dining rooms, big upgrades are needed. Red Lobster ideally would be operating dozens fewer restaurants to concentrate on its best performing ones, according to people familiar with the company's discussions. Wall Street Journal reported, citing comments from CEO Damon Adamaluki. Okay. So he the CEO, Red Lobster CEO, vowed endless shrimp would never return after it sunk the company. 2 years later, it's back. Red Lobster's most famous deal, the one that once helped sink the company. If you guys go back, there were news stories all over that they couldn't do the math right on endless shrimp to make it profitable, and it's part of the reason that the company failed. And the CEO, that the black CEO, he said that it's never coming back. But now it's back because they don't know what to do, because he don't know what to do. And part of the reason that he don't know what to do is he don't know that you signed up to be the mascot for private equity. And you guys don't know what that even means, so you celebrate anything. Then you ask me, why do I find him offensive? Because he is not the thing that you're celebrating. You can't grasp that he failed. Part of the reason you can't grasp it is that media only celebrates the beginning. They never come back and litigate what I'm litigating right now, that he's a goddamn failure. And this whole thing was set up under bad premises. This is not no mom and pop shop. This is not no man, no African man that brought up an idea in a business and grew it from one shop to 10. He's not any of the things that you made him out to be. What he is a mascot for private equity, and that mascot for private equity has failed at what he has done. Tell Charlemagne put that on his show. Can I talk today? Warren, meaning Senator Elizabeth Warren, the liberal, has pushed back on the popular narrative that Red Lobster's bankruptcy was caused by all-you-can-eat endless shrimp deals, instead blaming private equity's practices. She argues the chain's downfall began with a 2014 buyout that saddled it with debt and costly real estate obligations, long before the 2023 decision to make endless shrimp a permanent menu item. Her comments come as Red Lobster considers reviving the promotion in limited form, despite its past role in deepening financial losses. Part of what I just wanted to come to today is, in short order, to litigate the ignorance of parading around, champion not only private equity, but a mascot version of what Black Ascension looks like as you desire to be in a form of achievement that we didn't reach. So now here we are, and I just want y'all to go challenge Charlemagne to interview him why he failed. Do you know what you're doing? Did you? I don't want to hear about he used to run PF Chang's or whatever you got to say. I just want to know, you became the face man for private equity. Why did you do that? I just want to know. You failed. Why are you saying that you knew the math on endless shrimp, and then now you say endless shrimp is how you're going to try to come back because you're going to throw slop on the table for the working class American? To me, all of this just points to a lack of understanding. None of this makes sense, and a lot of these people don't know what they're doing. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share.